The price of your next car battery just got cut in half, and almost nobody in the American media is talking about it. Not the whole battery. Not yet. But the single most expensive piece of the sodium-ion puzzle, the cathode material, just saw its production cost slashed by 50% thanks to a factory commissioning in Meishan, Sichuan, China that most Western analysts are barely mentioning. A company called Zul'Nazim just turned on the world's first 10,000-ton sodium iron sulfate cathode plant. And if you care about what you pay at a dealership 3 years from now, you should absolutely care about what happened in that building. Here is why this matters more than the headline suggests. The cathode is not just one part among many. It accounts for roughly 40% of the total cost of a sodium-ion battery. When you cut cathode production costs this aggressively, you are not trimming the edges of the bill. You are attacking the core of it. Zul'Nazim and the broader Chinese sodium-ion supply chain are now targeting a price point of 20,000 yuan per ton for this material, down from numbers that were already below 30,000 yuan per ton by the end of 2025. For context, that trajectory puts sodium iron sulfate cathode on a path to undercut lithium iron phosphate cathode costs by more than 50%. Cal, the largest battery manufacturer on the planet, is projecting that sodium-ion production costs overall will land about 30% lower than their current lithium iron phosphate lines. IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, is forecasting sodium-ion cell costs dropping to $40 per kilowatt-hour by 2030. That last number should make every Tesla and Ford and GM executive genuinely uncomfortable. Now let us zoom out and explain what sodium-ion actually is, because there is still a lot of confusion in American conversations about EVs. Sodium-ion batteries do not use lithium at all. Instead of lithium salts, they use sodium, which is essentially the same element in table salt, one of the most abundant materials on Earth. The cathode material in the most promising current version, called NFPP or sodium iron phosphate sulfate, is built from sodium, iron, and sulfur, none of which require the kind of geopolitically sensitive mining operations that lithium, cobalt, and nickel demand. There is no Congo supply chain problem. There is no Chilean desert water rights controversy. The raw materials are cheap, widely distributed, and politically boring, which in the battery industry is a feature, not a flaw. The performance story is also more interesting than most American coverage suggests. Yes, sodium-ion has lower energy density than the best lithium chemistries. That is a real limitation, and we should not wave it away. But CATL's current sodium-ion product, marketed under the name Naxin, delivers 175 watt-hours per kilogram and supports 5C fast charging, meaning it can theoretically charge from empty to full in about 12 minutes. More importantly, it retains roughly 90% of its capacity at -40 degrees Celsius. For Americans in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, or anywhere the polar vortex turns your current EV into a range anxiety nightmare every January, that cold weather resilience is not a minor footnote. It is a fundamental competitive advantage that lithium chemistries simply cannot match at the same price point. CAT is already moving this into actual vehicles. Mass production is targeting the fourth quarter of 2026, with sodium-ion packs entering both passenger EVs and commercial vehicles. That timeline is aggressive but credible given that the cathode supply chain problem, which was the biggest bottleneck, is now being solved at industrial scale. So here is the question worth sitting with. The conventional wisdom in American automotive circles has been that sodium-ion is a niche technology, suitable maybe for cheap Chinese micro-EVs and grid storage, but not relevant to the kind of vehicles Americans actually buy. That argument rested heavily on the cost gap being too large and the energy density being too low. The cost gap is collapsing faster than almost anyone predicted 12 months ago. Energy density is improving incrementally. At what point does the American automotive industry stop treating sodium-ion as a curiosity and start treating it as a genuine threat to the lithium supply chain investments that Ford, GM, and the Department of Energy have spent billions of dollars building out? The honest answer is that nobody knows exactly when the crossover happens. But the commissioning of that 10,000-ton plant in Meishan is not a press release. It is a production reality. And production realities have a way of reshaping markets faster than Wall Street models predict. This technology will not replace the high-density lithium packs in a Model S or a Rivian truck by next year. But for the 40% of American EV buyers who drive under 200 miles per day, who live in cold climates, and who would switch to electric tomorrow if the price came down another $5,000, sodium-ion is arriving on a schedule that matters. The biggest problem with these batteries just got 50% smaller. The remaining problems are still real, but they are getting solved in factories that are already running. To stay ahead of the shifts that will determine what is actually worth buying in the next garage cycle, join us here and make sure you do not get caught flat-footed by the next announcement out of Sichuan.